All right, cool. So yes, this is basically a brawl session or a brawl VOD. It's going to be a little bit, as you'll see the layout here. It's going to be a little bit more specific or narrow in terms of what I want the focus to be on, because the term brawl is so vague and all-encompassing. So, well, the first thing I want to kind of do is sort of lay out what brawl is, why people use that kind of term, focus on one of the versions of that brawl comp, look at how you can play that against one of its main downsides being against mobile or dive comps, a lot that we see in team play and whatnot, and stuff that you'll see in ranked as well. And also briefly covering some variations and some rumors, and then obviously we'll get into the codes in the second half. So this sort of defining brawl bit, all of these compositions, which are taken from Pro League, in the past or even as of recently, they've all got some kind of brawl aspect to them. So obviously this one in the top left here, that's what people would normally consider to be a brawl comp when they think of brawl. It's the London Spitfire comp from a few years ago, obviously, but in the context of an actual matchup, this comp here, for example, which Toronto Ultra played against Crazy Raccoons last Sunday, that isn't what you'd stereotypically think as a brawl comp. But if you were to play this composition against a, let's say, dive comp, this would be considered the brawl comp in air quotes, because even though it has range, which is absolutely correct, you've got Vega on the Iliari, Merit playing hit scan, it's actually got some brawl aspects to it. And if you swap to this Iliari to a Lucio, it would look a lot more similar to this comp here over to the left. And that kind of applies with this comp here as well, and the rest of the comps here too. Obviously, this is a slight variation with the Brig over the Iliari, but this one works in the same sort of idea, but on the mobility end of things, where this is kind of a brawl dive hybrid. And I thought I would mention that here because I think it would be kind of counterproductive to just focus in on this narrow aspect of brawl, which is, in fact, you'll hardly come across it in ranked. You won't really come across it in team play that often anymore, at least as of right now. So I think it's actually more useful to go over different types of brawl comps in air quotes, and look at how to play that and the different matchups there are. Specifically, again, like I mentioned, I'll be focusing on the ranged version of it. So this would count as a ranged version of it. This would count as a ranged version of it. This one too. This one too. Less so on the Doomfist, the Winston, the divier stuff on it. But I'll still mention that later throughout. So looking to play that ranged brawl comp, so these two comps here mainly, against dive comps, I normally have a SPAR framework. Now, if anyone's really been, or everyone really knows my content or has been watching it for a long amount of time, I use this framework a lot when I talk about playing brawl into dive, or even playing poke or brawl hybrids into dive. I use it a lot because it's pretty useful. It's a pretty, I guess, formulaic framework, and it's easy to understand, and also apply as well in ranked as well, which is really important. So the four stages here are Scout, Prevent, Absorb, Rotate, and I use this again when you're playing some kind of ranged composition against some kind of mobile composition. The first stage, Scout, it'll be quick. This one, you're just looking for flankers, really. Nothing much more to it. I actually skip this section a lot of the time. But on immobile heroes, so like you're playing Sigma, for example, other ones that are less related to Brawl, like Zen, for example, but Sigma especially, the example I like to give is that you can look in between your reloads and shots during downtime, and this scouting stage generally will link onto the prevent stage, which I will get onto now. This is what people refer to as poking a lot of the time, but people often are quite vague with it. So, being more specific, you'll be having a 3-2 split. So, back onto this Toronto comp here, they'll have a 3-2 split with a two-man core of like an Iliari, and paired alongside that, you'll have a Tracer or a hit scan. In more traditional Brawl comps, that could look like a Lucio with a Tracer, a Lucio with a Venture, or a Lucio with a hit scan. I mentioned forcing point here. I'll get onto that a bit later if I've got time. I'll briefly mention it because it's not too related to something you can do in ranked, so that's why I'm not going to go over it too much. But the key thing here with this 3-2 split is that you're very proactive with it. You're essentially making sure that you're looking out for different dive heroes when they're trying to take angles and when they're busy staging. So we'll go over some visual examples of that here in actual games. So again, this was most recently taken from last Sunday, I think, Toronto versus Crazy Raccoons, the finals. As you can see here, maybe it's a bit hard to see in the screen share, but there's a two-man core over here. with the Tracer and the Liari, and a 3-man core over here with Ramattra, Bap, and Ashe. Again, the reason why, I should go a bit more specifically here, the reason why it's the Illari Tracer here, and not, say, Illari and Ashe, or another sort of other DPS core, the reason why that's mainly the case is because Tracer's got a lot of mobility, and if these guys decide to push these two people over here, they should be fine. They should escape just fine. So that's why they're putting the Tracer over there. Previously in the past, I'm not going to go too much on a tangent of it, but on longer range maps, you're fine having an Ashe here as well. But yeah, it's Legion Control Center, it's a fairly short range map. Another example, this was from a while ago. This was, London Spitfire's normal Brawl comp against a Divia comp from Vancouver Titans. And here, you can see, again, let's increase the resolution here because it might be difficult to see. But hopefully around about here, you can see his Yisang right here on the Echo, taking an angle onto London's Brawl comp. And right about here in a few seconds, what you'll see is Backbone and Admiral actually try and flush out Yisang on this angle here. I can't go full screen there sadly, but you can see he's turreting Yisang and actually grenades over and catches him. And this stuff is like really proactive and it's really important to do. And again, links back to that thing about preventing the dive heroes from staging onto your core, and your SPAR does that quite well here. Another example, this one's even more explicit. This one, in this fight here, Houston Outlaws playing pretty standard dive comp, and London Spitfire playing a pretty standard Brawl comp. And here, you can see Admiral on the Lucio is proactively looking for the Sombra here, because Happy's got EMP. And you can see that he's scouting, he's trying to fire shots, just trying to look for Happy on the Sombra, and I think eventually he does do that. So yeah, the Translocator gets destroyed. I don't know what Happy does, to be fair, but this is great prevention, essentially, from the side of Admiral. And I think Happy actually ends up dying for this. He's 20 HP, it ends up dying for that, and now I think Houston end up losing that fight. So, again, another great example of prevention there. The next stage, Absorbing as a Brawl comp. This one is a bit more layered. I'll skip over the stuff that's a bit more team-related because, again, I know this is a more ranked audience here. But basically, this is just using sustained cooldowns, Lamp, Region Burst, Malga Overdrive, Ryan Shield, Sigma Grasp, Ram Form, Ram Blocking, things like that, essentially. And if you can use ultimates like Beat, for example, to go even further. In team play, this will look like bunkering, where you're going in a certain area to minimize the angles the enemy team take onto you. You've got plenty of cover, short sightlines, normally in enclosed rooms, forgot to put that in here. But yeah, we'll get onto an example of what a bunker looks like. And normally, that'll be paired alongside dead zones. Basically, it's just an area where the enemy team can't play in because it's off the map, or they're very unlikely to play in themselves. So maybe your spawn is like behind you, the enemy team aren't going to play, or aren't going to spend time going there and widening the angle. And the reason why the dead zones are good is because it can reduce the angle, which makes the dive easier to absorb because all the damage is in front of you. Another example, or one examples of that here, this was taken from one of my videos. Here, this would be a good example of a bunker because, again, it's an enclosed space. You've got this sort of, you can force the point here again. I was just going to mention that from the previous point here, but you can force the point, force the dive team to come to you, and you've got like a nice enclosed space, short sightlines, plenty of cover to absorb the dive from the enemy team. You've also got a small dead zone behind you because, let's face it, if you're playing this sort of area, no one's going to be behind you, so you can live with safety knowing that most of the enemy team's damage is going to be in front of you. So that's absorption there. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, getting also high ground here. Another part of absorbing is high ground. Now this is really important in ranks. I've coached players from gold in just random rank games all the way to team play in tier 3 and beyond. This is really, really important. High ground, what that basically means is you retreat back to high ground as a dive, or as a Brawl hero rather. So you're playing Ashe, Coach Gun, Bap, Exo Boots, that's one of the big ones. Sojourn, before she got gutted, and she's kind of trash now. But before that, Power Slide was really, really powerful there. Yeah, it would be really important to kite back to high ground when possible. The reason for this is that dive heroes like Sombra and Tracer do lack verticality, but even if you are playing against dive heroes who have verticality, like Genji, Echo, Doomfist, Winston, those kind of heroes, even those heroes that have got verticality, if they decide to chase you on high grounds, it makes their path really, really telegraphed. And a great example of that is here. So again, this was taken from one of my sessions, just a random gold rank game. There's a Sojourn playing over here. She's trying to fight off a Tracer, and he ends up sliding to this place over here, not to the high ground that I draw on the screen here. And this again does two main things. Because again, if the Sojourn goes to the high ground here, the Tracer can't reach him. The only way this Tracer can only reach the Sojourn is by going up to the high ground, and that makes it very telegraphed. He knows exactly where the Tracer is going to be. He can pre-fire that corner, and it's a lot easier to absorb that pressure. So this is a pretty textbook example of why kiting back to high grounds is so important as a Brawl comp when you're playing Brawl into dive. Another example here. Another Sojourn example. This one was sliding from around about here to this high ground over here. Again, it's a bit less good of an example because, again, these guys have vertical mobility. But if this Genji wanted to chase the Sojourn, he would need to come in. There's only one direction he can come in, which is in front of the Sojourn, which makes it, again, very telegraphed in terms of what the Genji wants to be doing there. It also means, in this sort of example here, they're playing Junker Queen. Junker Queen's got no verticality, so it's another perk there as well. In this actual match, the Sojourn ended up sliding around about over here, back main, and he ended up dying for it instead of going to the high ground here. So again, whenever you can, going back to high ground is really, really important. Last stage, rotation. This one's really simple. Just W keying and taking a different angle after their dive is over. One question I get asked a lot in terms of like, how do I know the dive's over? How do I know when to push up as a Brawl team? And the key thing there is looking at the cooldowns and the HP of the enemy dive team. So, for example, when a Winston bubble breaks, when our Hammond pole drivers, when a Doomfist slams out, when a Genji dashes out, when a Tracer recalls, Venture Burrows, those kind of things, when you see that happen on your screen, that's a good sign or a prompt or a trigger for you to actually push up and rotate. HP can also be another trigger or a visual cue as well. If you see the Winston's low and he's jumping out, probably a good time to push up and catch him. And yeah, this is also links back into positional as well. Again, jumping back main, recalling back main, dashing back main, those kind of things. And this is another visual example of that right here. Again, linking back all the way about the sort of dichotomy between what even is Brawl here, because again, both teams have Brawl aspects, but again, I'm focusing more on the ranged version here. So this was from a mid to high master scrim. And here, they've done the prevent stage already. They've tried to absorb the dive. Unfortunately, Ilaria ends up dying here. But now they're in the rotate stage. And actually, I was coaching this Ashe specifically at the time, and I was telling this Ashe player to swing to their left, or on your screen to the right here, and take this different angle. And again, the reason why it's so good here is because you can catch the Winston, who's got no bubble, basically no armor, half HP, and he's just used his jump to get out, you know? So this is actually really, really key in terms of like how to rotate against that Brawl comp. Again, if you're playing, just for hypothetical purposes, if these guys are playing Lucio, the benefit of that is Lucio thrives in that rotate stage. He can speed his Ashe to this different angle and punish the Winston. The counteract that, or the trade-off, is that obviously Lucio is worse in that prevent stage compared to Illari. Illari's got way more range than Lucio does, so it's a trade-off between what you want to do. Lucio's also arguably better at absorbing because of the boop and the aura as well. But yeah, if you were running Lucio instead of Illari here, same principles apply. You're still speeding your hit scan or your team to this different angle to be able to keep the wins on the back foot here, and that's a pretty textbook example there. Okay. Finishing it off here in terms of like switching your perspectives, you know, what if you are the dive team? What do you do here? How do you counteract each of these stages? So in terms of like countering the prevent stage, quote unquote, you want to be supporting your off angles where possible. Normally that'll be with another support hero. So Kiriko's really good at this, but you can also have a Lucio with you. In ranked games, Life Weaver's also great as well. You'll see this less in team play for obvious reasons. But also, you can just be in the LOS of your supports. So again, going back all the way to this Vancouver Returns example, it'll start here, unfortunately, but back over here. A better example here is like a Kiriko could be on this high ground supporting the Echo, you know, and this Echo doesn't die because of that. Or Faith here on the Lucio, I think he's like, I don't know why he's down main here. He could definitely be with Heesang and essentially enabling Heesang, protecting him, and supporting that off angle there. So that's what it would look like in this example on this map here. On this example, where was it? Oh yeah, down here. playing within LOS with your supports. So if you're not playing any of these heroes, so you're playing Honor and Zen, for example, or it could be a Mercy as well, just play within their LOS. So this was from one of my old teams, High Master Low GM roundabouts, and in this example here, I'm essentially asking or telling my Tracer to play within the LOS of my Zen and my Honor, and to a lesser extent my Torb as well. And the reason for this is that they can get support from, again, the backline heroes. And if this person decides to, if this person gets jumped on by the enemy team's Tracer Sombra, they should be fine. They should have a numerical advantage there. And that's really important to understand. And again, as you can see, these guys are playing like a poke dive hybrid against a brawl dive hybrid. So another example to go through there. This example, this is a more wacky one. This one, I want to focus more on the Tracer. And again, I'm essentially asking my Lucio, who's stuck on cart right now, to go with my Tracer and support the Tracer off angle so we can get a nice sort of pincer around the enemy team's Brawl comp. I was going a step further. I was also telling my Symmetra to place turrets within the zone that my Tracer was playing in, so they can control the space even more. So again, supporting off angles doesn't have to be through just backline heroes like Kiriko, Lucio, Ana, whatever, but it can also be through DPS heroes like, again, Torb in this example, or more explicitly Symmetra turrets in this example as well. It's a bit more of a wacky one because you're not going to see Symmetra much in your games, but thought I would go through it here. Onto the absorb stage. This is a big block of text here. Try and go through it as precisely as I can. But if they're bunkering, swing wide. There's nothing much to it, to be honest. Like, I'm not going to go through it too much because, again, ranked audience for this. Another thing is to soften up. This is the big one as well. In ranked and team play, try and soften up their brawl comp with soft engages. So if you're playing like a comp like this, or another poke dive hybrid, that would look like a Doomfist slamming in, an Echo taking an angle, Genji dashing in, dashing out, and your goal for that is to force out sustain cooldowns, like Immortality Field, Region Burst, Suzu, Overdrive, Shouts from Queen, Ryan Shield, that kind of thing. And you're doing that so it's harder for the Brawl team to absorb the dive, because you're getting sustained cooldowns, you're getting out sustained cooldowns over time. The other thing, this one is more for ranked, but if you're playing really mobile heroes like Tracer, Sombra, Genji, Reaper to a lesser extent, Echo as well to a lesser extent, but if you're playing really mobile heroes, this is a really key concept to understand. You want to play areas that are aggressive but safe. People often think that just because you're playing aggressive means that you're playing dangerously. That's not true at all. You can play really aggressive angles while being really safe, and you can also play really passive angles, but at a really dangerous kind of way. And hopefully, when we get onto the VOD, we'll see that hopefully with the dive into the Brawl example. But yeah, this is really important to understand, and the reason why you can do this is because Brawl comps have really low mobility, especially vertical. So you can be on a really aggressive angle, and no one's gonna mark you. No one's gonna come for you. You know, especially if you're above them as well. Because again, Brawl comps lack verticality a lot of the time. The last thing to break absorbs or to break bunkers is big ult combos. This one's kind of obvious. But nano boosts, primals, blades, EMPs, meteor strikes, those kind of things, they can break bunkers, and they can essentially prevent the dive team from, also the Brawl team from absorbing. It's really hard as a Brawl team to absorb a nano boost meteor strike engage, even if you have beat. So that's the classic one as always. I should also mention here that I forgot to mention, but cooldowns as well. So nade is the big one, obviously, into Brawl comps. That can be a good trigger to go off of, but yeah, ultimates are another one as well. Last one. Yeah, the rotate stage countering this. Not much to say to this one, to be honest. Just kite a bit further back. So again, this Winston, hopefully you should have jumped out to around about here or around about here, just a little bit further back away from the poke Brawl comp here, so we can actually sustain his cooldowns, get them back, and then go for another dive cycle. But yeah, that's not much to say there, hopefully. I will say as well, hopefully you did get enough of a resource trade. So these guys did here, obviously. They killed the Iliari, so it relieves pressure during the rotate stage, but yeah, something to mention there. Briefly covering Brawl mirrors and variations. Brawl mirrors, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna simplify it. The key thing is getting a good wall cycle and having having DPS take an angle while that occurs. I think before, really good examples of this were before the Soldier nerf, Quartz especially. He was really good at this, and hitting as well guns obviously. But the slight nuance to this is timing. So ideally, if you're playing a hit scan, so Ashe, Sojourn, Cassidy, the time at which you want to take your angle isn't the same as when your Mei puts her wall down. It's actually just a slight second after. The reason why this matters is that when your Mei puts the wall down, everyone's going to be looking at the Mei wall. Everyone's going to be looking at the front line, which allows you to take that off angle as a Sojourn, as an Ashe, as a Cassidy, whatever hero you're playing, and get that free pick or whatever. So that's the only slight nuance I would say with Brawl mirrors and off angle control. Last bit. Variations. Again, Brawl is so encompassing that you can play any kind of different hero that you want into it. Tracer Brawl is one of the main, I say main variations. It's an increasingly common variation. It's good when you're playing Brawl into Ana Zen comps. Again, you can see it over here. Ana Zen, I think what the team 2 are playing here is a fairly good comp into us, so I think it made sense for them. It just allows you to get onto the Ana Zen backline a bit easier. It's good also for controlling the map and preventing flankers from staging. So again, back into that prevent stage. Trace is really good at marking certain heroes. Again, she's really good at that. She's got a ton of mobility to do that. The only reason why you wouldn't play this is into Brawl mirrors. Have fun trying to play Tracer into a Mei Symmetra Bat Lucio comp or a Mei Cassidy kind of comp. It's not fun. It's super easy to be marked on as Tracer. And because you're playing Tracer Brawl, you're not going to have much support on off angles. You're only really going to have a Lucio. That's it, really. And not much support, apart from, yeah, just a Lucio. Other comps or other variations, this is the main one, Sigma Ryan Ram. Sigma's great for off-angle control. Again, his shield's really good for controlling range DPS heroes like Sojourn. His flux is also good too. Ryan, I'd say, is best all around. So if you're playing against dive comps, Ryan's really good at absorbing because of his shield. He can just block on an aid, which is a really key trigger. And he's got a ton of armor. And compared to Sigma, Sigma is obviously not that great against dive comps in terms of absorbing. I will say, if you are extremely mechanically proficient at Sigma, Sigma's actually great against dive. It's kind of a hot take, but if you're able to land hyperspheres onto characters like Tracer and Sombra, Sigma's great against dive. Obviously, he's got no armor, and he can't do much about, getting tasered by Winston, but it's being able to hit those shots against dive comps is really, really important when you're playing Sigma as a Brawl hero. But yeah. Ram, he generally beats, I mean, this might be subject to change in the future, but he generally beats Reinhardt in the neutral, unless Reinhardt has Shatter, because Shatter just shuts down Annihilation entirely and basically kills a Ram or forces out a B or something like that. That's how I kind of simplify it there. The last one, Cass Ashe Sojourn, the two differentiating features between whether you want to play either of these heroes. The first one will be high ground, so on maps like, Esperanza, a ton of high ground there, Cass has got no verticality, whereas Ashe and Sojourn do. And that's why you'll see heroes like Ashe and Sojourn being played on maps like Esperanza. Conversely, if you're playing Lijiang Control Center, you're going to see Cass a lot more, because there isn't much high ground to use. The second, factor is range. So again, Lijiang Control Center, short sightlines for Cassidy, you're not going to be entering that fall-off range, whereas if you're playing someone like a New Queen Street or Esperanza, you're going to be entering that fall-off range. So an Ashe or a Sojourn would be better. Obviously, Sojourn's been gutted, but yeah, that's the key thing there. Before the patch, you normally play Sojourn for those kind of reasons. But yeah, that's it for the main, starting off session thing. 24 minutes, so not too bad for time. We'll go through the VOD, the thing, I think Principal submitted. We'll go through that. And yeah, also I'll mention that when I'm loading up the game, if anyone's got any questions, then you can feel free to shoot those questions as well. But yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, ignore that me being reported to my dumbass. Okay. Oh yeah, I need to put it in. Let's see. I'll go to Dante's DM. EMA. Great. And we'll see a little bit of context Did well in first point, but then died a lot from being in the open, and I think, yeah, that's a very common mistake with tracers. And I think my engage timings were off as well. Okay. Oh, that was the wrong one. But okay, I just read the wrong one. Shotgunger's dive into Brawl.
Yeah.
You gone?
Give me a sec.
No worries. Hang on. Okay.
Ready. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
So yeah, if you're gonna like, if you're gonna, I got pinged actually. There we go. Thank you. In a typical rule, I'm just reading.
Yeah, I'm back.
No worries. I'll just quickly answer this question. In a typical dive pool matchup game, the absorb station might happen 2 times in a fight, right? How do you absorb if some of your CDs like Lamp or are still on cooldown? Yes, so one of the key things there is, again, maximizing the value out of the rotate stage, because if you just stand still after you've absorbed that initial soft engage by the dive team, you're gonna get dove on again, and you're not gonna have things like Lamp and Overdrive and those kind of sustain cooldowns. So the rotate stage is really, really important. And ideally, what should happen there is you either force the points, you get an ultimate up in time, you get a kill, you force out a cooldown, like, again, a recall would be a big one. So when the key thing in the rotate stage is that you don't always have to get a kill. It would be nice, right? But say you catch a tracer and you force her to recall. That's great, because in the next dive cycle, then that tracer can't go in because she hasn't got recall. So that makes it easier to absorb. One thing I didn't mention, or I didn't put this in the PowerPoint because this is just kind of hard to show. But I normally have this kind of graph. Again, I've shown it in videos beforehand. I'll just explain this quickly. This is power. And this is time. And this is kind of how the dive cycle looks like, where this would be Winston Bubble, Tracer going in, Genji dashing in, Blade, Nano Boost, those kind of things. That's like the peak of their power. Brawl comps is a bit oversimplified, I will say, but for the point I'm trying to make here, it kind of looks like this. It's more like this, to be honest. But again, I'm oversimplifying it here. This rotate stage is really, really important. And again, you really want to be catching someone like a Tracer Recall or something like that on the push, or after they've jumped out, and after you're entering that rotate stage is really important. But yeah, we'll see any more stuff to mention as well. Also, in your how to play the comp guide, you gave an example of special of your team increasingly when knowing the enemy team has strong ults like EMP. How would you do that in ranked? Yeah, okay. So I didn't want to go through that because it's in ranked. It's actually really hard to do that stuff, you know. Because in team play, when Spitfire were doing that, they had communication. They were like, guys, they've got EMP. We need to be proactive here, you know. And in ranked, especially in metal ranks, no one's gonna do that shit. So that's kind of why I didn't go through it there. I thought it would just be a little bit too, I guess, meaningless for, again, the audience that I'm going for here. For ranked, I mean, it just depends on the ultimate that you want to be doing, right? So again, maybe you're playing, I'm just doing this off the fly, but Sigma, and maybe your Flux, and maybe, I don't know, your fucking Cassidy is in voice, you know? And you know that they've got EMP, right? One thing you might want to be doing is look for an early Flux before that Sombra has time to set up with EMP. Obviously, be careful of getting EMP during Flux. You might want to have cover for it as well. You might want to make sure, not even EMP, just hack in general, right? But you want to make sure you have cover for that as well. But if your Cass is in voice, you can be like, Cass, I'm going to Flux early. Make sure you get a kill during this Flux. And that's it, you know? Maybe that's be a good example of it in a rank game. It's really hard to do in solo queue. I'm not going to lie. It's unrealistic as well. And yeah, that's kind of why I didn't go through it there, to be honest. But yeah, it is a good point to raise. And in team environments, it is really important to be proactive. And that proactive thing, you can do in ranked. You know, like that thing that Sparker did by jumping over as Bastion and looking for that Sombra or that Echo is really important to do. So that's something you can absolutely replicate in ranked. So yeah, onto the VOD here. So yeah, what are we going to say, Principal, about like, general context and things about the match here?
Yeah, so I was facing a dive comp. It was just during the first half on attack. It's basically Rain. Yeah, so here you have it. Rain usually gives me hard time on Tracer.
Ryan.
Because Ryan, yeah, sorry. Because usually, well, especially it's a gold game, right? Especially what happens is the team is gonna be very clustered around him, and I have a hard time getting any value, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, especially when there is a choke point or something like that, obviously. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to go about that.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good point to raise here. And generally speaking, again, whenever you're playing Tracer into Brawl, or especially if you haven't got any support with you at all, normally in again coordinated environments, if this was an actual scrim in a high level, you'll get things like Xenob with you. But if you're playing just by yourself, the idea about playing aggressive, so actually we'll use this is a good example actually. So this is a key choke when everyone gets caught on, right? If they're stuck, or you're in defense here, and they're trying to push through the choke, one thing you can absolutely do is just hold this high ground, you know. And if this, say, Widowmaker, could be an Ashe in a different game, could be a Sojourn, whatever. If they want to take this high grounds, you mark them. And this, if you're with this Widowmaker, you absolutely want to be here. You know why? Because you've got a great angle here. So if you can just literally sit here and you see the Widowmaker go high ground here, you draw the Widowmaker. Now, if that Widowmaker drops off, you can either chase her if she's killable. I don't recommend that all the time. It depends on how low she is, the status of the fight, things like that. But again, you can just stay here. And if this Widowmaker just sits down main the entire time, and doesn't do much, then you've got the space to actually dive onto her. The key thing here is timings and cover. So you'll do this drop when the enemy team are about to go in, or are going in rather, you know? So say Reinhardt is walking up here, and your Sigma might be good to switch LOS here. Say your Zen is about here, he's shooting down orbs. There, Reinhardt is walking in like this, and he's swinging onto your Sigma who's playing here. That would be a great time for you to drop off from this high ground and start and one clip the Widow, try and shoot her in the head, things like that. You know, the reason why you do that is because in here, or in that sort of timing, Widowmaker's going to be looking at the Sigma, or the Zen, or the Ana. She's not going to be thinking about a Tracer dropping off from this high ground, looking to one-clip her. The second part to that is using cover, so when you do actually do this drop-off, you blink to probably, I'd say here in this hotel, and again, this links back to that idea about playing aggressive angles safely. Because here, this is a very, very, I mean, we might even skip to it here, if my PC loads this. Okay, a little bit ahead there, but okay, we'll just go through it here for example, right? But again, maybe Widowmaker, Ana, Lucio are here. If you're here as Tracer, who's gonna mark you? Like, no one. They can't mark you because they haven't got mobility. They can't chase you. So you can literally just stand here, play this cover. You've got a mini pack as well. If they do chase you, so it'll likely be a Lucio in higher elos. If they do chase you, you can just be like, I'm gonna leave. And you can't chase me. I'm gonna waste your fucking time. And that's again a really, really big perk of Tracer that you can do against Brawl comps because they haven't got the mobility to chase you. Now against Dive, don't do this because they will have the mobility to actually chase you. You know, if they're playing Tracer, Sombra, and stuff like that, don't do this, and Doomfist as well. Don't do it. But against this comp, absolutely you can do this. No one's gonna chase you. No one's gonna come for you. So again, that links back to that aggressive but safe idea. So we'll see how it goes here. I just saw another code. We'll spend like 10 timings here. Yeah, we'll spend 10 minutes on this, 10-15, and then we'll do another 10-15 there to end with that code. But yeah, we'll see how it goes here. And yeah. Okay, a little bit ahead here. Okay.
Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, just as a preface here, so this is separate from the Brawl thing. I genuinely prefer, in ranked at least, try and stage on one of these high grounds. So either here in Cinema, either here, or either here. The reason why is because, again, you've got no verticality as Tracer. Like, I don't know how, if this Widowmaker stays here, I don't know how the hell you're going to be able to reach that safely, you know? So yeah, in ranked, you can absolutely just AFK, stay here, and again, links back to that aggressive but safe idea. This is a very aggressive angle, but it's safe if you're unscouted and no one knows where you are. And if they do, you just blink out and be like, I'm going to leave, and no one's going to come for you, you know, because you're Tracer. But yeah, we'll see how it goes here. And because they're running a Widow variation of this Brawl comp, I would say it's more... the key thing you need to be doing here is, again, controlling the Widowmaker here, and then you can go for the Ana, then you can go for the Sim, then you can go for the Lucio, that kind of thing there. Again, it's a general, I've explained it in videos beforehand, but I call it forcing out flankers, then go for backline. And this same idea would apply if this was a Ashe, Sojourn, another hit scan, whatever. But yeah. Because obviously what you don't want to happen is this Widowmaker to be on this high ground, or on this high ground, uncontested, shooting shots that your team can't match, you know? So that's something you absolutely need to mark. And it is difficult on this map, but yeah. Okay. Fine. Whatever. Sure. So, fine to blink away there. Again, I would pick up the mini here, and it's fine to restage on the high ground here. That's completely reasonable. The blinks here aren't though, so again, this might be something that's Tracer specific, but just walk up into this angle. If you know that the Widowmaker's here through sound cues or someone pings on your team, then I would actually double back and try and mark that Tracer to the best of your capability. Again, the map is crap here for Tracer, and I wish you were playing Genji instead, but that Widow needs to be marked for sure. Especially if she's isolated away from the rest of her team, which she's gonna be, because they're playing Brawl. Okay. So you see, I think you see the Widowmaker here because you fired some shots at her. Yeah, so you know she's here. Get back in cover, get blinks back, and then try and chase her. In this situation here, I wouldn't be strafing out in the open space to try and do whatever you're doing here. Yeah, like, you should be dead here, you know? Against a better Widowmaker, she hits that shot, and you're dead, you know? So again, in this situation, just double back, and then try and go for the Widowmaker and try and mark her to the best of your capability. Or just blink across to down here, and try and control this high ground, or play here and try and go for backline. It's again difficult on Tracer because I wish you're playing Genji instead, and you could just dash into the Widowmaker and mark her, but you're not playing that hero here. So yeah, I'll double back here for sure.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay. Don't need to blink there. And actually, again, in terms of that aggressive but safe thing, if we just forget this Widowmaker exists and say they're playing Mei here, this is actually brilliant. Like, this is a great angle. Cover, mini pack, more cover, retreat path over here, retreat path over here, retreat path over there. Like, this is aggressive but safe, forgetting the Widowmaker here. So this would be a great angle. And again, imagine you're here shooting the on it in the back. This is how you would play Tracer into Brawl. This is great. Obviously, there's that Widowmaker caveat. As I mentioned beforehand, she needs to be marked here. But again, if you are playing a Tracer into like a traditional Brawl comp, this would be great. So yeah. Fortunately, you blink out in open space and yeah. So why do you actually blink? Because you've got a great angle here, you know, like you've got cover. You can shoot the Arnott in the back here. And even the Reinhardt, because he's low, you know, he's discorded, he's actually low HP, he's got no armor. I wouldn't actually mind if you dumped a clip into him in the back. I guess the question here is, why blink out into open space on the point here?
Yeah, to be honest, in retrospect, I guess I was a bit confused. They were super pushy all of a sudden, but you're right, I should have... I don't know why you didn't go for the Ana, it makes no sense.
Right, yeah, it can, in VOD, it can often look a bit obvious, you know, why did I do that, you know? But yeah. And again, for contrast, this is aggressive but safe. This is aggressive but dangerous. And again, you can see, arguably, this is more aggressive than this, but it's way safer for the reasons I've mentioned prior. Of course, you get your reforce. Fine. That's fine. Okay, this is positional stuff. So, do you know the Widowmaker's behind you? Yeah, you know the Widowmaker's behind you.
So I know. Basically, what I'm trying to do is to hammer in because we are getting rolled. So I'm trying to help my team and at the same time staying out of Widow LOS.
That's a good point to raise. What do you think helping your team looks like?
Well, in this case, it's getting a bit closer to them and trying to help against Rain and Symmetra. That's what's going on in my head when I was playing this game.
Yeah, so it might need a slight... It's good that I asked you that, because it might need a slight mindset shift, because you, in terms of the target priority here, at least for your hero and what you're capable of doing, maybe it's different again. If you're playing Bastion into this, then you can roll down the Reinhardt, and that might maybe make sense in some scenarios, but here on Tracer, like, you've got the mobility to be able to reach this person and duel them. Bastion, you don't here, obviously. So it's interesting that you say helping out your team and looks like shooting the Sim and shooting the Reinhardt in the back here. Whereas I actually think helping your team looks like marking this Widowmaker such that your squishies, so these guys, don't have to worry about the Widowmaker here at all. If I'm this Widow and I'm looking at the enemy team here, I think this Widowmaker is more dangerous to your team than that Reinhardt is. Because at the very least, like, your Sigma's got tons of resources, sustain, you'll get healing from your core, whatever. Whereas this Widowmaker, it's a lethal one-shot, you know? Which I would be very cautious about. So that might be a slight mindset shift that you need to make there. Yeah, and again, it's for comparison's sake, to extrapolate this, if you're playing into Ashe, and she's here, I'm saying the exact same thing. I'm saying, go up to this high ground and mark the Ashe. Because she will rain down hell on your team from high ground if you don't mark her. So it's really important to get that mindset shift in.
What if it's a soldier or a sojourn instead? Sam? Or...
Good question. It depends where they're playing. So, and it depends how aggressive they're playing. So,
I'm talking if they are the same locations, at the same positioning.
Right. So if they're playing, so you're saying that if they're playing soldier like here or here.
Yeah.
Same thing. The reason being is that this position is still really, this one especially, is still really aggressive for that soldier. And it's I have two things to target priority. I have how easy they are to kill, and how dangerous they are. Bit simplified. But on Tracer, it's much easier to kill a Widowmaker than it is a Reinhardt or a Symmetra because of the hero you're playing. And in terms of danger, as I've explained, this person is extremely dangerous to your backline compared to the Reinhardts. So that would be someone I will be marking. And again, this doesn't have to be a Widowmaker, Soldier, Cass, whatever hit scan you want in the game, that person needs to be marked there for sure. So if this is a soldier here, absolutely, I would absolutely mark them. Now, conversely, if the soldier wasn't on high ground and he's playing a more passive position, say on this corner here, and he's down main, which is pretty common in gold ranks, then I would actually switch target and say, go for the Arnett instead. Why? She's just a bit easier to kill than a soldier, I would say. And that'll be my main reason for it. But I wouldn't mind if you went soldier here. It's just less obvious if the soldier's stacking main here and taking a less aggressive angle compared to something like this or something like this. But yeah. So knowing that, obviously, I would want you to rotate to the side ground and try and go for the Widowmaker here, basically. Instead, I assume you try and, I don't know what you do here. Yeah, like, if I had to ask you, like, what's the value? I mean, Arna's playing a dumb position here. But if I had to ask you, like, what's the value of this position, shooting the enemy team from here, compared to marking that Widowmaker, it's kind of night and day. Because at least here, like, you can absolutely get a kill into someone that's going to be a big threat to your backline, compared to just shooting a Reinhardt or Symmetra from this soft-off angle here, you know? I will say that something good about this position is that, again, you are playing this well. Plenty of cover here to use, you've got a retreat path behind you, so you are playing this in a safe way, I would say. But yeah, I just think the target priorities is kind of messed up here. Okay. There's a slight awareness on the pin there, just paying attention to that sound cue. Alright. Second point. So we'll see this choke point thing that you were mentioning earlier.
Stop the payload.
Ooh. Yes. Good. Great. Brilliant. And now if I zoom out, and look at this, like, this Widowmaker is no longer a threat to your entire team, you know, like, she has the best thing she can do is stack main here and try and maybe look for shots down main. That's it. She can't go through this high ground, she can't, you know, look to go for a more aggressive position and go to here potentially, like, she can't swing wide essentially. So this is really, really great space control. Now, I wouldn't push your luck here, mainly because look where your team's playing, you know? Like, these guys are not engaged, these guys are not engaged, just, you did your job here, that's all you needed to do, keep the high in control. You can look to go into the Widowmaker when the team fight starts to break out. That's the key thing I would say there. But, yeah, I wouldn't push your luck here too far. Okay, so why do you leave this sort of, this area?
So, I have this problem where basically, you're telling me to control this high ground. Does that mean I basically stay here and do nothing? because in my mind I don't like spending more than 5 seconds doing nothing. So I try to go for the I try to finish the kill. Obviously, didn't work. So I'm thinking, no, I need to go back to my team to help them out. So
Yeah.
in retrospect, and I don't know if it's that I don't know in retrospect if it's a bad decision, because I can stay there, but if Widows decide to not come back high ground, I'm just wasting my time.
I don't think you're wasting your time, by the way. Let's say hypothetically, you stay here, and this Widowmaker, because she's gold, is never going to touch the Saigon again. I'm not going to take an angle. I still think it's great positioning for you here. And again, links back to that aggressive but safe idea. Because you've got a great angle to jump onto the Honor and slash the Widowmaker, you know? That's great value, whereas if you're here, you're going to be shooting Ryan Shield the entire time. And that's not, like, it's some value. It's better than, you know, I guess, doing nothing in essence, but what I guess the key point I'm trying to get across is that it's okay to do nothing, you know? It's about space control, and if these guys are going to stack main, let them, you know? Because then eventually when the team fight breaks out and these guys start, you know, pushing up and whatnot, then you've got a free timing to go onto the Widowmaker here. So, yeah, here, like, we'll play the fight here, but imagine if you just stayed here. Like, this Reinhardt is pinning in, which tells you that you should be going anytime now. So between now and the next few seconds is when you'd be dropping onto the Widowmaker.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine if you stayed here. And I would say you'd go in about now, because again, the Reinhardt's, you just pinned in, he's walking up forward, your Reese's probably, she's throwing a javelin right now. Imagine you go in right now, and you just gracefully drop one clip that Widowmaker, blink into here, reload, shoot the Honor. Like, you literally get a free kill is right here on your screen. As well as the Honor to a lesser extent, she's less free. But this Widowmaker, absolutely free, you know? That you could be capitalizing on. But yeah, the value you get here, we'll see what you do instead.
Go stole that payload.
Yeah, like, I mean, okay, this is I was gonna think you were gonna stack main onto your resources, so this is a decent value, but compared to getting a free kill onto the Widowmaker, I don't know. Yeah, shooting, you do half damage against tanks, you get 40% less ult charge. Like this, the value you're getting here is pretty much nothing. If you're gonna be doing this, play Bastion. You know, like if you're gonna run it down main and try and burn that tank, play Bastion. If you're gonna play any hero, because you're leveraging the mobility of Tracer. And again, this person, absolutely a free kill. And beforehand, your Torb was actually playing on this high ground and was at a risk to the Widowmaker on the enemy team here, and could have died. You know, so again, easy target, very dangerous. Control the space around the team fight, really key on Tracer to do. So yeah, and that would have been honestly a one fight there entirely. And again, if you kill the Widowmaker here, and say you don't kill the Honor, that's still great, because you're drawing her attention away from her tank, which relieves pressure off your tank as well. So yeah, that's also another benefit as well. You mentioned wanting to help your team and help your frontline and help just your team generally. That is also, you're indirectly doing that by going onto the Widowmaker and going onto the Honor here anyways. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that regardless. Okay, that's it for this VOD. We'll go to the Mateus one now. Okay, I was a dumbass, I just mistyped it. G80. Damn, is that? Am I tripping? G8. Oh. Like those, yeah, okay, good. Oh, I was just dumb.
Ready for battle.
Master GM lobby, I always struggle on this map with Tracer. Oh, God. I love it. It's funny that you say that, because every single time I coach this map, I always say to players, just play Venture on first point. Because I hate Tracer on this map. And for good reason. So I'm not surprised that you struggle with Tracer here. I assume you're Yucky. I'm presuming. No, you don't need to talk. No, you don't need to talk. That's fine. Alright. And the running Venture. Brilliant. Okay, so you're playing Tracer against this. So yeah, it's the same kind of broad idea about controlling this sort of off angle over here. You should get support by Iliari, so again, links back to the LOS thing. Hopefully you've got a pylon set up. Normally pylons are either set up here, or here, or here. One of those three would be great. And then, yeah, you should be able to control this right side on this angle here. So we'll see how it goes. The Venture you need to be scared about, and again, I've made videos beforehand about how good Venture is into Tracer, but if you've got numerical advantage with your team, you should be fine. They're very strong against Tracer specifically. Okay, we'll see here. Fine. Again, aggressive but safe. You're safe here. Trust me, you're safe. You're good. Okay, you're chilling. You can if you're scared about the Sigma rocking you, you can just blink back here, play the high ground, and you're fine. You don't need to give up the building entirely. Hopefully you don't leave this angle in its full. Okay, you don't. Good. Don't be AFK. So you're AFK there in open space. It's not ideal there. And now you're in open space against the Venture. So here, this is actually pretty decent macro-wise, because you're playing within LOS of your Illari and your Widowmaker, so you should be able to clear this Venture. But micro-wise, you're just AFK in open space, so you take a shot from Venture, and now you're within one-shot range. Yeah. Wow, scary. Okay, your Widow kind of builds you out there indirectly. Yeah, now you won the space, you've still got recall, you're allowed to push the space a little bit more. Fine. Okay. Why go straight onto backline here? I'm a little bit, tiny bit confused here. My main reason why I'm a bit confused here is because if I'm looking at the danger and the ease of targets here, I think you could get a lot of value just by standing here and shooting out this Venture without having to go onto backline immediately. Again, forcing out flankers first before going onto backline immediately after. Yeah, I mean, I think it's completely fine if you want to go onto these guys or this person after Venture burrows, but here you could definitely force that burrow early. So I think it's a little bit preemptive here. Yeah, right? Yeah, I felt so greedy. I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with that. The thing I have to tell players about dealing with greed is that you need to consciously resist your craving, your bloodthirst to get a kill immediately. Because here obviously you go in way too early, because first reasons because again you could be forcing out the Venture here, but also these guys are not within your kill box. They're actually before or behind the choke in the first place. Like they're not playing within your BAP LOS, your Zarya LOS, your Widow LOS, your Illari LOS. You're going in by yourself here. So just play slow, chillax, shoot the Venture a bit. And once these guys start walking forward, then you can go on to the back line. So, and it's kind of funny because you lost space without them even having to force you out. You know, it's not like a Venture tried to chase you and force you out. You just, you know, it was your own doing, so to say. This is good though. This is good. I mean, it was. The runabout here, good clip. Decent cover usage, I'm fine with this, and good target priority as well. Similar, this is a better example beforehand. I get marking that Widowmaker. This is a similar case here, but marking an Ashe instead. This is great. Forces the Ashe to look at you, I'm happy with this. What I'm not happy with is the odd blink hit into open space. Again, I think less is more. I think you could just stay here, AFK, reload your clips, and then rotate around right side, shoot the Ashe, or rotate left side, and pincer her from this angle. Either one would have been fine. Here you actually waste a cooldown and you blink into open space here, which is not ideal. And you could have taken Dynamite there if she got it earlier.
Enemies attacking the objective.
Okay, and your target priority, I'm not sure why you're going Sigma here, when Ashe is the easier target and she's also more dangerous, but yeah, I mentioned that point beforehand. Open space. Okay. We'll see next fight. So yeah, that fight there, again, partially came down to greed. Again, also came down to aggressive but safe. Came down to cover usage there. And again, you're just getting your recall forced out too early by going in too early. Stuff on target priority as well, stuff mentioned beforehand. But yeah, in short, marking the Ashe, playing this room, play cover well, you'll be fine. Okay. Next fight. Okay. Considering the comp you played against, or you know their comp now, I don't know why you wouldn't stage here, at the very least. Now, again, why would you stay here? Because these guys have low mobility. No one's going to come and chase you, and if they do, you blink out 3 times. You're chilling. The only person is maybe Venture, but even then, you can just, again, blink out 3 times and you're fine. And you waste their time off the clock here, so yeah, I think going here, they can't chase you. No one's going to be bothering. No one's going to fucking chase you. Because again, they haven't got mobility. Don't stay. Yeah, you're gonna stay here, aren't you? Yeah, yeah. Of course you are. Now you're shooting Sigma Shield from main. So again, this map is difficult for Tracer, but when you can absolutely take angles like this, you know, and even drop down over here. Where am I? Whoa. Yeah, drop down over here. Not now, obviously, because it's too early. But again, you've got multiple rotations you can do from high ground, from here, from this room as well, to go onto the back line here. Like, do you see, hopefully you see the issue. I don't have to say about what the issue here is because you're blinking through main in open space, so you're gonna get forced out here. Yeah. It ended up doing well there. I mean, you ended up falling into the ash there, and the timing was actually fairly good because you were going in while the enemy team was pushing here, so I think it's fairly decent. But regardless, not great pathing or positioning there. Timing there was great, positioning not so much. Okay. Again, pathing there not ideal. If I were in terms of where you should have been going, I would have preferred you to again path around here because you've got more cover to use. And actually, you could force out the Sigma with your team. Again, the reason why you go Sigma here is because he's more killable. Why? Because he's isolated from his backline, and your team's shooting him as well, so it makes him more killable. So I would shoot with the Sigma here, then you can go for backline afterwards. Okay. All right. Obviously here you're in open space. You're gonna take damage here. Open space. Open space! Okay, there we go. Yeah, and now you're stuck onto your Zarya, you know? Like, again, if you're gonna do this, I'd much rather you play any other hero bot Tracer. You need to be leveraging the mobility of your hero. Look at it, your BAP is playing more aggro than you, you know? And he's Baptiste, he hasn't got as much mobility as you. And again, imagine, holy moly, imagine if you were here right now. Like, you could unironically drop onto that Venture, blink into this room so you avoid the drill dash and the combo and whatnot, force her out, or force them out rather, and then win the space control, and then you've got the space to go onto the backline here. You've also got help from your Iliari, Baptiste, Ashe as well, so you're playing within the LOS, links back into that idea. Are there any characters better than Tracer here? Venture is one. There you go. I mean, any character, I'd say like Echo, Genji, most flex DPS, far to a lesser extent, are better mainly because of the verticality. Venture, I'm a big fan of on first point specifically because the enclosed spaces are really, really broken for them. But yeah. And look at that. But we'll get into what you're doing here, right? But look, if you go a bit more broader here, imagine you're here right now, you 2v1 this person and you kill them. You know? Like, this fight's won just because of your positioning and where you should be playing. This becomes a 5v4, you kill this Venture, you V-push, you know, you've got space to go into the Ashe or Ana here, you're picking, I don't care. But, yeah, that's how this fight should have gone here. Unfortunately, you decide to do the more risky play, and blink through the enemy team once again. 1, 2, into a, what even is this, a top? Into a traffic cone, and you're gonna get forced out here pretty easily. Yeah, your uptime there's null, you know. I think one thing I will say, I assume you're playing Tracer here because you're good at Tracer, which makes perfect sense. I wouldn't want you to stop playing different heroes because they're better here, because Tracer is very doable here, as I've just explained, you know. Like, if you're gonna play Tracer here, play this angle against that comp specifically, because you can control the space here. But yeah. I have a saying, I hate when bad macro is outplayed by good micro. I mean, your tracking has been great, to be honest. Like, your tracking's been great, Pulse-Bomb's been great as well. Mechanics are great, but yeah, it's the positioning and the space control that really needs work here, I'd say. And the cover usage. Okay, we'll see here. I think the blink, that's fine. I will just be playing either the cart and or the left side of here a little bit better. Because you strafe it a little bit too open. You see how much you're in open space. You know, the Ashe can see your entire hitbox. So I'll be using the cart or this left top here a little bit more. But it's a bit micro. Leave. Good. Leave. Good. Great. Now you didn't want to be here from the get-go, but again, links back into that aggressive, but I've said this 1,000 times, haven't I? But like this aggressive but safe thing. Who's gonna fucking chase you from this angle? No one. Like they can't. They physically can't. So this is unintentionally great staging.
Much better.
Okay, now look at this is a beautiful angle. Beautiful angle. Timing, just careful of the timing here because Zarya is dead, so don't go in here too early. You are gonna go in here too early, aren't you? Yes, you are. Oh my god. Yeah, just stay here, stay here.
Much better.
It's okay, the fight's over. Your Zarya's dead. You're not gonna win this. Just play here, rotate slowly, depending on how they push the cart here, and control the space. Again, you can play here, and it's a very aggressive angle, but it's so safe. No one's gonna chase you. You can stay here. You don't have to blink all the way back main, you know? And I would argue it's more dangerous because this person can coach gun and catch you, you know, if you're trying to retreat back here. So, yeah, not great. Look who's coming to chase you. It's the Ashe, you know? So yeah. Now you're down main against the Sigma, so here, I think it's fine shooting Sigma because he's low, so I think target priority here makes sense. To cover usage, I mean, there's just not much, is there? I mean, maybe left side here, but that's the only thing I can say. It's too far, it's out of your effective range, so I think what you do is fine. So I would have rathered you to, like, you know, stay here, mark these two, and yeah, you could have been safe sailing. Okay, cover. Good. Nice. Better that. Okay, this is greed. You've pretty much got no resources. You've got 60 HP, you've got no blinks, you've got a 10-second cooldown back to your recall. Just chillax. Chillax for a second, you know? Don't greed this. Just get full HP, get at least a few blinks and get HP back before you reduel the Ashe. Because this duel, I don't mind it. It's a 2v1, you should have this map control-wise, you know? And this is good space control, this is great. But micro-wise, HP and blinks-wise, you've got nothing. So just play slow, chillax, and then re-engage when you've got enough cooldowns back. Could have and should have died there. Whoa! Yeah, you could have killed that Ashe if you were a little bit more careful from the get-go. Okay. We'll watch one more fight, and then we'll call it a day, and answer any questions people have. Alrighty. Yeah, Blood is AFK. Okay, fine. I think in that case there, I mean, you're AFK, so yeah. But again, I think you could have, again, drawn it out more, and then you're not going to get chased. And if you do, you're fine, you got cover, you can blink between high grounds, you're fine, you know? Again, you're AFK, so you have to go on the fly, but yeah. Another example where you can just play it but safe. You're blinking. This, for reference, this is passive but sloppy, or passive but dangerous. You're blinking in open space in front of a Sigma, and you're not even getting a good angle for it, you know? So not ideal. Yes, it's better. The reason why this is better is not because of the angle you're on, it's partially because of that as well. But again, Vengeance has been forced out, so you're allowed to go backline here. Again, relates back to that forcing out flankers, going for backline after thing. Good cover usage, great so far. Why'd you leave? No! This is great. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, you can double back here. You've got so much cover. This is a buffet of cover, you know? You've got so many pieces of cover to play around. And for some reason, again, you actually blink back into the Sigma. I don't know why. Look how dangerous, this is so scary. Like, look how dangerous this is, you know? And you didn't have to do this. And again, links back to that aggressive but safe thing. Whereas this is passive but dangerous. This is aggressive but safe, you know? And this is one of the biggest misconceptions ever. Across all ranks. But yeah. Congratulations, you're now 25 HP down main. Oh my god. I thought you died there. Yeah, now I would restage, go top right's your only option here. See if you do it. Don't stack main here, please. 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 Your masters, you're better than this. Okay, you're trying, okay, that's fine. Sure. Unfortunately, you just wasted that blink micro with Tracer. You just wasted a few blinks trying to get up to this angle in the first place. I think the angle's okay. Just blink management is not a great. And again, against poke Brawl comps like this, high ground is great. Because again, these guys have got no verticality, so you can just sit above them and then drop down from below and get a clip into the ash. Not a great blink. Would have rather you to blink a bit more into this direction, straight around the cover here. If she body shots you, you've got the mini, you're chilling. Okay, good pulse. Again, mechanics are great. Really good mechanics. But yeah, okay. We'll call that a day. We'll do a summary, because I normally do that. We'll say aggro but safe. Space control. / dueling. Flankers. And we'll say 3 is but I don't even know. Oh yeah, cover usage. Yeah, those are things I would say there. So I think that should be it for the session here. If anyone's got any questions, then you can feel free to put them in the chat, obviously, and I'll be happy to answer those. But yeah. Alright, it's good to hear that. Obviously, if you had more time, I'll go through a bit more systemically, like why you're doing the things you're doing. Funny enough, I had 2 Tracer sessions this week, and we talked a lot about mindset and egoing, and you're probably in this camp, but also panic as well, and how to prevent those things, because bad micro will come down to panic a lot of the time. But yeah, obviously I'll stop recording now.